there. So yes, we will be periodically, sporadically putting the recipe in the chat box if you need that to download to your computer. So you'll have this mouth-watering recipe of the curry turkey bowls over cauli rice at your leisure. You can make it at your leisure. And then we'll also be sending it, as Marie just shared with you, in our email with the replay. So we have got you covered. So hello, and oh my goodness, we are AARP Colorado, but I see we have invited people all over the nation because I see Hawaii, I see South Carolina, Brooklyn, New York. Hello, Darlene. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you haven't told us where you are from, let us know in the chat because if this is your first time, welcome. If you've been here 10 times, welcome. So glad. Either way, I want you to know you are part of this community. We're going to love you up tonight and we're going to get cooking. One thing I will say, I went on a walk with my puppy dog. She might make a few cameos back and forth. We'll see. Her name is Chloe. And before I left, the little monitor in our kitchen here, our security monitor tells us the temperature. And it said 5 degrees feels like 1 degree. I'm like, oh my goodness. I am such a wimp, and I'm a native of Colorado, and it's very challenging for the cold. So all of that to say, if you too are in a cold environment, hopefully this recipe and our time together will warm you up. If you are in a nice beachy environment, first of all, I'm jealous. Second of all, you're still gonna love this meal. And third of all, let me know, like if you are in a fun temperature, put that in the chat box. And or if you're in like a super cold temperature, I want to know the numbers. Like I want to know where my people are tonight. So let me just take one moment. Um, as I'm reading this, also want to let you know if you have questions as I go on, please put them in the chat box. And if you are in the chat box reading and you know the answer to somebody's question, I absolutely encourage you to share. We are in this together. All right, Sacramento, California. Welcome. Dallas, Texas. Let's see. And Lisa says she likes to take notes on the printed copy. Awesome sauce. Yay. Oh, and Marianne's back. So great to see you as well. Happy New Year. Let's see. So issues in Southern California. So yeah, you are not dealing with the feels like 1 degree. So yeah, I'm a little jealous, but I hope you are enjoying. And let's see, I'll read a few more and then we'll jump right in. Let's see. Um, oh wow, you guys are very active. Okay, it's gonna be a good night. I'm loving this. Okay, so Sandra is saying that in South Carolina, 45 degrees feels cold. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna leave that just right there. I'll just let that sit because 1 degree freaking cold to me. But yes, I know you're probably not used to the 45 degree either. So I feel your pain. How about that? All right. Oh, we have quite a few people here. Oh, thank you for finding my humor in that as well. Good, 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 good. My kiddos, I've got 3 teenagers. They don't always understand my humor, so I think it's a little bit more fun hanging with people in my own age group. So again, tonight's gonna be a lot of fun. San Juan Island. Wow. Oh, how amazing. Okay, so like I said, curry turkey bowls. The reason why I wanted to do this bowl at the top of the year is because again, it's warming. It's going to be a warming food for us, but also it's loaded with fiber. It has amazing seasonings and flavors, and everything in this meal is, what would we say? I'll just say high nutrition. Because I really like to stay away from good, bad language or black and white language because we are all on our own journey. And I like to really highlight that everybody's body, everybody's food preferences, everybody's food tolerances are very unique. And so, as we go along, which, by the way, fun news, I will be here with you with AARP first Thursday of every month for the year of 2024. So, as we go along this year, and as I present new recipes, I really want you to just be curious about what you like, what feels good in your body, what you could probably be open to, maybe changing certain habits. And so that's the language I try to lead with because I want to meet everybody where you are. All right. So with that, if you have your recipe, I started off with the Cauli rice, and that's of course short for cauliflower rice. And I love me some cauliflower. One, it does happen to be my favorite vegetable, just because I like the crunch and the texture. I like it baked, I like it fried, I like it raw. Um, but also I put it first because often I like to prep it, put it to the side, and then do the other dishes. But for tonight, because the curry needs some time to kind of marinate and saute, we're gonna actually just jump right in and make our curry turkey first. Try to say that 10 times. And then as it's simmering and sauteing, and I actually might move it to the stove behind me while it's simmering, then we will make the cauli rice together. Actually, out of just my curiosity, is anybody actually cooking with me? I know oftentimes most people like to sit back and watch and relax, and especially for my friends on the East Coast, I know this is really late for you. So I'm curious, is anybody cooking along with me? Let me know in the chat. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Darlene. I appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, yay! So Jessica is chopping right now. Sweet. Susan's cooking. And Judy and her husband are cooking. Constance is cooking. Okay, sweet. Okay. Well, I will still talk to everybody, but I will be very mindful of my friends who are cooking to make sure we get our timing just right. So, my friend who said you're already chopping, sweet, because everything we will be chopping, putting to the side, and then putting it together. So, I'm glad you have the recipe to follow along. Allison's been generous to put it in the chat a few times there. So, I'm going to turn my stove on just because mine takes a minute to heat up. But while we do that, we get to have the entertaining part where you are absolutely welcome to laugh at me because I am putting on the onion goggles because I am an absolute wimp when it comes to chopping onion. And as I say that, and as I just moved the piece to the refuse, a little tip to my friends who maybe are not always in the kitchen, but I always, whether I'm on a show or I'm here cooking dinner for my family, I always like to have a bowl on the counter so that I can just quickly chop and get rid of the refuse piece. And so just as a little hip tip to you, if you want to take advantage of that instead of running back and forth to the trash can, it just saves time and it saves mess, I find. So with chopping the onion, and as you can see in the recipe, I said it can be a red onion or a white onion. The red onion is going to add a little bit more sweetness to the dish. The yellow, and or even if you wanted to use a white onion, it's going to be less sweet, but equal mineral content, equal nutrient content. And then as far as the chops, I always like to say, go at your comfort level. So for me, I like to kind of make larger chunks. So I hopefully, oh, let me move this way so you can see a little bit better. So I just cut the onion in half and now I made horizontal cuts. And now I'm going to just chop it. Chop, chop, chop. And feel free to move your hips as long as your fingers are safe. Safety first, no matter if we're chopping, if we're baking, if we're frying, safety comes first. All right. And for my friends whose fingers aren't filled with onions right now, can you tell me one or two nutrients in onions, like why and or reasons why we want to cook with onions in our meals, besides the delicious taste? I'll pause. Let's see. Good for our digestion, absolutely. Cancer fighters, yes, yes, yes. Vitamin C, anti-inflammatory for the win. That's the biggest reason why we want onions in as many dishes and meals as possible. Absolutely. Christopher added, and welcome, Christopher, added fiber. So, yes, nicely done. This community is on it. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so I just did coarse chops. And as you can see the size, like my husband, he actually grew up in the restaurant biz, and so he's actually way more particular than I am. He likes really tiny chops, but this is the size of chop I have time for and patience for. And so as long as it's bite size, I'd say go for that. All right, next, I'm going to put just a little bit of coconut oil in the pan in preparation to brown my ground turkey. And in my recipe, because again, we called it curry turkey bowls, I'm using ground turkey. You can use ground beef in this recipe. For my vegetarians, tempeh actually has a nice texture, so you can do that. What else? Also, if you're vegetarian, you can actually leave out the protein piece in this because the coconut milk that we have coming later, that adds a source of protein and fiber. Coconut is an amazing healing ingredient. And if you want to use tofu, you actually could do tofu, but I would say wait till the very end just because of that texture. We don't want it to get too gushy in there while we're sauteing the rest of the items. So just to give you a heads up, especially for my A type who is like, where's she going? Where are we going next? We are about to brown the turkey meat. And then we're going to put the turkey meat to the side. And then that's when we're going to let our curry sauce just simmer. And your house is going to smell like something of magic. You will be thanking me by the end of this, I promise. All right, so it feels like my pot is probably warm enough. So I am going to pour in about it's about a pound and a half of turkey meat. We're just gonna brown it. As you can see, I've got my wok. I love this wok. I use it for pretty much everything, even scrambling eggs sometimes. I just like it because it's like has space, and so things kind of quick cook a little bit quicker. And then there's space to either cook larger meals, we're a family of five here, or smaller meals, like right now. No kids, no husband in the house tonight. So, I am going to still cook the full meal because it does make amazing and delicious leftovers. So, heads up there, you will have delicious leftovers. So, as that sautés, let me just take a quick peek at the comments. Let's see. So Jojo says, I'd love to cook, but I'm just getting home, just chilling and following along. Sweet. So glad to have you here. Let's see. And it doesn't say the name, but a Zoom user says that the bowl for the veggies and the fruit cuttings is perfect for the compost heap. Yes, our I was gonna say our guest. Marie's not a guest. The woman that introduced me at the top of the hour, my friend Marie, she keeps pushing me to compost as well. And so I promised her this summer is the time I'm gonna compost. So any reminders, feel free to continue to remind me because yes, I absolutely believe in composting, especially for us gardeners. This is awesome. Let's see. Elizabeth says she uses onions in almost everything. Nice. And Kelly says onions are my very, very best friends in food, and they're flavorful. Nice. Okay. Yes, you guys are on it. I am
Hey,
loving this
Michelle,
wine.
excuse me, the
Yeah.
voice from beyond. I have a couple of questions in this question and answer, not in the chat.
Oh,
Uh,
fun.
Stephanie would like to know how much cocoa oil.
Yes, that was about 2 tablespoons I put in to brown my turkey meat.
Okay. And they would also like to know if you can make this ahead of time and freeze it.
Yes, yes, yes. Love that question. And absolutely. So as you can see on the recipe, this is for 4 servings. Some of my friends who are solo living, this makes an excellent, you can make 4 lunches or 4 dinners out of this. So I would put our cauli rice on the bottom as the base, put our curry turkey on top, put it in a freezer container, pop it in the freezer, and it's amazing every time. And then I love it so much more than like the TV meals that you can already buy frozen because you have control over the ingredients and you already know all of this good stuff is going to be making your cells in your body dancing with joy and your taste buds too. So love that question. Yes, were there more questions in the Q&A, Allison?
Nope. What? Maybe so.
Okay, I
Oh
love
yeah.
it. Bring
Um,
it.
the Q&A is popping. Wait a minute.
Yay.
Can you make? Oh, what is the freezer life on this from Kelly?
Believe it or not, I don't know because we eat it so fast. Like, for instance, I am going to put half of this in the freezer, and I most likely will eat both of those servings next week. And so, I would say as a general rule, I don't keep anything in my freezer longer than 3 months. Um, And that actually leads me into something else that I'm very passionate about, which is the meal planning. We did a workshop with AARP a couple of months ago, and the main reason I bring up the meal planning point is that when you plan ahead, then you won't have all this extra food in your refrigerator, or in this case, in your freezer. And so you're going to be eating that food as you go and as the days go by. So all of that to say, I encourage you to meal plan, but I also encourage you not to keep anything in your freezer longer than 3 months, unless it's like your Arm& and Hammer baking soda to take odors out. That can stay in for a while, but everything else, I want you eating that good food that you're putting in your fridge. All right, so my turkey is almost there. And for my friends who are cooking with me, um, hopefully you've chopped your onion, put it to the side. You can also start by chopping your snap peas as well. We can actually jump to that now. I was going to wait till a little bit later, but since this meat is taking its time, I will tell you this again is going to be to your preference. When I have my kiddos here, I typically cut them in half and they're teenagers, so their mouths are bigger than mine at this point, but I still think of them as kiddos. And so I do take the time to cut them in half. And so if that's your preference, of course, go for it. But otherwise, tonight I'm going to throw them all in. The thing I would caution you about is the woody ends. And so I do, whether kids are here or it's just me, I do take my time and I look for any woody ends. And then if so, I just chop those off. So you might want to do that as well and place them to the side. And let's see, Shelly. Oh, Shelly, my friend. So great to see you here. So she says onion peels can be soaked or boiled in water and added to the soil for plants. They are rich in potassium, calcium, and iron, which can help the plants grow strong. Nicely done. And if you're still in Colorado, that means I'm going to be leaning on you, Shelly, to come help me with my garden this summer. How about that? Although we probably want to do the compost in the spring, and I would love help. So, yes, thank you for adding that to the chat. Thank you for being a part of our community tonight. Great to see your name pop up. Let's see. And Susan says, great. I like that there's plenty of time to sit in my Cosmo as I watch you cook. Yes, there is. Hopefully that Cosmo is with a very high vitamin C cranberry juice happening over there. Wink, wink. I promise you, I am not one to judge. You get to eat and drink the way your body seems fit or deems fit. All right, looks like I just have 1 more minute with the turkey. So I'm going to keep looking at my snap peas to make sure I don't have any woody ends because nobody has time to be biting on woody ends of any kind of veggies, right? Let's see. Kelly says, yes, ma'am. Love it. So because I'll be probably chopping cauliflower before we put these snap peas in, I'm checking them as I return them to the glass jar. And this is also another great reminder for my friends who have been with us, and perhaps my friends who already know, but then maybe it's this new information, which is I want you storing your food in glass jars. As you can see, this is a recycled pickle jar. We also have a glass jar from, I think I got this from Ace Hardware. Costco often has sales on glass jars. And the reason is because the plastic can often have xenoestrogens that can seep into our food, and that plays with our brain chemistry. And I don't want that, especially for a lot of us who are going through menopause. Before we hit the record button, we're having a lively discussion about menopause. And our bodies are going through similar reactions as when we were teenagers. And so for teens and people who are going through hormonal changes, and honestly, anybody, of course, we don't want those chemicals in our body, but especially for people who are in that hormonal fluctuation, I want you keeping and storing your food in glass jars. All right, well, I'm going to turn the heat off, and now I'm going to transfer this ground turkey into a side bowl. And if you have heated up some tempeh, you can put yours in the side bowl. If you are going to use tofu for this one, I still would wait. I wouldn't heat it up quite yet. I'd wait till the curry sauce is already cooked down a bit, and then I'll put the tofu in. And so I'll try to remember that, but feel free to ask me again as we get towards the curry sauce part of the demonstration. And now the bowl. One thing I like to say is there's no such thing as perfection in culinary nutrition. And I have to say that right before I pour this. I have a feeling we're going to have a turkey flying. As long as I get enough for my dinner, we'll be all right. Sweet. That's actually a little cleaner than I expected or anticipated. All right, so now that we have the juices from the ground turkey and also still a little bit of that coconut oil that I originally put in, we are just going to add a little bit more coconut oil for these onions that we chopped. I'm going to move the meat to the side. And this time I'm just going to put in maybe a tablespoon, 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. That was actually a healthy tablespoon. That's probably about a tablespoon and a half. You can eyeball it. It's all good. And I'm actually choosing the coconut oil because, again, it's the curry and it kind of adds a little bit more sweetness. Some people I've heard, some of those people live in my house actually, don't love the taste of coconut oil. And so that's fine. I would say then just use avocado oil. You could actually even use full fat butter if your body tolerates dairy products for this recipe. And then what else might be working? Oh, and then ghee actually would be even better because ghee, and again, that's only if you can tolerate dairy products. My body sadly cannot. Um, but ghee would actually give it a nice sweetness as well with the curry. Okay, so now let's put our onions in. So that as they cook down, I will be able to take off these silly goggles. And yes, onion goggles are a real thing. I bought these as onion goggles. I sell them on my website. They're real, but if you don't want to spend the $18, no worries. Just grab your goggles that you use to go skiing with, and or maybe you're just not as sensitive as me. And that would be amazing. I would say good for you. All right. So before I mix those all the way, I'm just gonna do like a dash of salt on these gorgeous onions. And now I'm gonna mix them to make sure all the pieces, all the sides are covered in this brain supportive, gorgeous coconut oil. And let's see. If you were cooking with beef, would you strain the grease off? I actually would not, because I believe, especially if it's organic beef, then that oil is going to be brain supportive and it's going to also add to the deliciousness of your curry. So if it's two legs, I noticed I was asked a little while ago, no worries if you strain it off. But I think the turkey juices, the beef juices remaining in the pan would make this curry sauce that much more delicious. Let's see. So Marianne says, instead of getting the reaction from the onions, it looks like she puts the onion in the freezer for about 10 minutes before chopping it. I've heard of that before. So good for you and good for planning ahead. I don't know that I have that kind of patience, but I'm working on it. I'd like to be more patient when I grow up. I want to be more patient. All right, so we're gonna saute the onion and feel free to do the saute dance if that brings more joy. I definitely believe it brings more love to the meal. And we're gonna just let the onions cook until they're a bit translucent, and then we'll start adding the delicious seasonings that actually make this amazing curry sauce. All right, let's see if there's any other questions.
Hey, Michelle, it's me again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out that Francis had mentioned that if you're viewing on an iPad or an Android device or your iPhone, that the recipe may not be showing up in the chat, but it does when you're on a desktop. So that is probably, I appreciate her solving the mystery of one. Some people could see it and some people couldn't. And that's kind of uh, the technology for you. You know what I mean? It works on one and not on the other. So, but have no fear because that recipe will be to you by the end of the day, along with the recorded version. And so I guess, Michelle, if you could just make sure that you're telling everybody how many tablespoons or whatever, because some people can't see the recipe.
Yeah, thank
That'd
you
be
for that
awesome.
feedback. Thank you both for letting me know. Absolutely. So that was just one full onion that I chopped, and we're sauteing in about a tablespoon of coconut oil. Now I'm putting a cup of coconut milk in, and this is what's going to be kind of the base of our beautiful curry sauce. It also cools down some of the sauteing and the heat just momentarily. It's going to start getting bubbly in a moment. But I'm also going to turn down the heat to about medium high at this point as we cook it down. Because again, just to let you know where we're going, we're going to add a little bit more ingredients, and then we're just going to let this sauce kind of cook down. And that's where you're going to get that delicious marinade of the curry. So a cup of coconut oil, also, or excuse me, coconut milk, very different. We use coconut oil to saute, coconut milk for the curry. And I wanted to show you, there's a few different brands I like, so I'm definitely not promoting this one. But what I did want to give you another hip tip on, of course, the culinary nutritionist in me, I can't help but to teach and to share. But anytime you get anything from a can, whether it's coconut milk, green beans, soup, I want you double checking the label to make sure it says BPA free. Or on this one, in this case, it says non BPA lining. Because sadly, still in 2024, manufacturers are getting away with using like cheap metal, and those toxins again are getting into our food. But if it says non BPA or no BPA lining, then you're going to be A-OK. So just wanted to share that heads up. All right, so we did the 1 cup full fat coconut milk, 3 tablespoons curry powder for my friends, and that's going to be about medium heat. So my friends who may be a little more sensitive to Spice, you might want to take that down to 1 to 2 tablespoons. We like a lot of spice here in the family. We're kind of all over the place. And again, since it's just me tonight, we're doing three. We're keeping it spicy. So 3 tablespoons curry powder. I'm doing about half a cup broth. I'm using chicken broth because that's what I get at Costco. It's one of my favorite shops just because you can save money and grab big. Again, I'm not, they're not sponsoring me, and AARP doesn't endorse that, but just want to share that Costco is a great way to get some great deals. So I'm doing half a cup chicken broth. For my vegetarians, you can use the vegetable broth, and that would be great. A little bit more. If you have beef broth for my friend who's doing the beef curry, feel free to do the beef broth. That would be delicious. And then if you don't want to mess with broth at all, water would actually be fine. Your sauce isn't going to be like as thick, but it's not that much different. As you can see, the broth is very watery. And so now we're just going to stir this in. And actually, I think I do want to add a little bit more salt, and then we'll do a dash of pepper as well. And then we'll let it do its let it do its thing.
Michelle, real quick,
Yeah.
there's a couple questions about the coconut milk.
Yeah.
So it needs to be full fat coconut milk. And can you explain why it needs to be full fat versus low fat coconut milk?
Absolutely. Well, one, I don't know that I'm even familiar with low fat. I think I put, oh, actually, yes, the reason why I put full fat is because sometimes people confuse the coconut milk that comes in like the cartons, kind of like the milk cartons, because there's that type of coconut milk that you can like pour over cereal or bake with. But for this recipe and for making sauces, saying the full fat is to point you towards getting the can. And the can is the only way I have known to find the full fat coconut milk. Also, I want to add, because I love this question, coconut milk is another beautiful brain supportive ingredient. And so that's why I get so excited about it, because it's supporting our brains. I know a lot of us have been raised to believe that fat is bad. That's just not true, specifically the healthy fats. And so for me, in a lot of my courses and workshops, I talk about my PFF method, which is in every single meal to keep yourself satiated and to feed your brain, we want the PFF method. So that's a protein, a healthy fat, and a fiber. And so for this meal, our healthy fat is the coconut oil that we sauteed in, and coconut milk. Our fiber is going to be our cauliflower. And then, of course, our protein is the ground turkey or the ground beef or the tempeh if you're using that, or the tofu. So I hope that helps. But if not, please feel free to ask more questions. I'm here for it. Let's see. And Kelly, you're not allowed to say that unless that's a good thing. I'm like, I know there's been a lot of discussion actually about the fat movement, the pro-fat movement, meaning that like larger people are taking that word back, saying that's not a bad thing, it's a beautiful thing. And so, as a culinary nutritionist and as me talking on this presentation, the more I'm talking now, the more I'm like, I probably should just back away from that just for tonight. So you're welcome to talk about that in the chat box. Thank you, Kelly. Oh, you guys are funny. Oh, this is awesome. And then Marianne says, as someone I know says, everything in moderation, including moderation. I love it. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so we're just gonna let this sauce cook down now for about 5 to 10 minutes. If we had more time, you could do it longer. I would say up to even 30 minutes if you wanted to let this just kind of simmer on your stove, warm your kitchen, have your house smelling delicious like curry. 'Cause the longer it marinates and sautés, the deeper and more delicious those flavors are going to come out. But 5 to 10 minutes is actually a beautiful time. So as we do that, let's move on over to the cauli rice. And also, let me just do a quick time check to make sure. Oh, yeah, we're right on time. So we got about 12 more minutes, and that is perfect. So, again, back to my favorite vegetable. And I may have said it earlier, I don't remember, but in the chat, I want you to tell me what vitamin is cauliflower chock full of? And I'll give you a hint if you don't already know. This vitamin is excellent for warding off colds and also warding off, I was going to say hay fever, but what is that? Seasonal allergies that a lot of us are going through right now. C, 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 C. Oh, it's like a song. I'll try not to sing too much, but yes, this community is on it. Yes, cauliflower is loaded with vitamin C. So I already took the liberty to chop mine down. I did it very coarsely, but my friends who are cooking with me, if you haven't already, feel free to chop it down coarsely, specifically if you're using a food processor. If you do not have a food processor, then I would strongly recommend just stretching out, getting your arms ready, and we're just going to do mini micro chops so that we can rice the cauliflower because, again, we're making cauli rice. So we want it kind of the texture and the size of rice. So it feels like we're getting that belly full of carbs. But as you can see, this is going to be a healthy fiber and a healthy carb. It has minimal carb in it, but super healthy, and absolutely brain supportive. So keep chopping for my friends who are chopping. And then if you've already chopped, go ahead and put it in your food processor. That's what I'm going to do. And because we're doing demo tonight, I'm just doing a small pan, but a full head would get you 4 servings. I'm going to do probably about half of that, just because I have a small pan.
Michelle,
Yes,
I have a couple more questions.
I would love it.
Kelly likes a lot of spice. Would 4 tablespoons of the curry be okay, or is that too much?
That would be great. For flavor profile, though, I might even encourage you, Kelly, to stick with the 3 tablespoons of curry and then maybe add 2 to 3 teaspoons of red pepper flakes. Like that could be
Mm,
really delicious as well. But yeah,
very
you won't go
nice.
wrong with the 4 tablespoons.
And then, can you use cauliflower rice from the grocery store instead of the food processor?
Yes, love that question. So I would say, for my busy professional folks who truly just don't have time, then yes, I would much rather you get that riced cauli from the store to cook with and move forward than to not make time to do this on your own. And even I should say, that was a little judgy. Even if you're not a busy professional and you just don't feel like chopping it, then yes, of course, I would rather you have the store-bought than not at all. With that said, the store-bought often comes in the plastic, and so I just really try to get the least amount of plastic in your kitchen. I want that plastic out. So there's that. But also, it's a lot fresher when you can do it for yourself. And so the fresher the food is, the more nutrients and minerals and vitamins it's going to hold and going to be able to serve your body well. So hope that helps. So yes, if it's last resort, but if you can just make, the extra 5 minutes to chop it the way we're about to, that would be my preference.
Perfect. Also, can you tell us how much parsley you used?
I didn't use any parsley yet. We're going to use that for the topping. So for my friends
Okay.
who are looking ahead, love it. Always happy to answer those questions. So we are going to chop the parsley and sprinkle that on top of our meal at the end.
Okay. Go ahead and let her rip.
All right.
The food processor.
You can see I'm ready to go.
I
Yes.
know.
So my friends who are processing or using a food processor, we're going to use the pulse so that again we can rice it. If you blend it, it'll be okay, but it's going to be really super tiny. But if you pulse it, you can get just the size that you want. So here we go, and feel free to do some shoulder dance, whether you're cooking or not. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, And no, I'm not going to count the whole time.
Michelle, can you use a mini food processor?
Absolutely. With that, obviously, you would just have to do a couple batches, but yeah, that's great. I would do, one batch as much as it can hold, put that in a side bowl, and then do another next batch so that you can cook it all at the same time. But yes, I love that you have a mini food processor. And this is gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Let me show you this rice. So you can see it looks just like traditional rice. And that was, I don't know if you were counting along, but I think that was maybe 7 or 8 little pulses from the food processor. So super easy to make, super easy to rice. And this actually freezes well as well. So if you're going to take the meal planning a step further and maybe on the weekend or maybe on one of your days off, if you want to rice some cauliflower, you would rice this, put it in a container, pop it in the freezer, and it defrosts very quickly. And or sometimes I'll take my frozen cauliflower and I'll put it in my smoothies in the morning. And it has very little taste. And so if I'm making a chocolate smoothie, it just tastes like a chocolate smoothie. So just a little hip tip there. You can absolutely freeze this cauliflower when it's riced this way. I probably wouldn't freeze it in the we call it the nugget form, and I definitely wouldn't freeze it in the whole head. That'll get super mushy. But if you rice it, it freezes very nicely. I saw some movement over here. Let's see. How would you rice the broccoli instead of cauliflower? Oh, actually, it would be the same situation. I would rice it just like that. And let me show you the piece I use. So it's this piece that I used in the food processor to kind of the two blades to chop it. Um, and Marianne uses her food processor sometimes to chop onions. Beautiful. That's another way to save our eyes. I love that. And then, do I blanch the cauliflower before freezing? You could. I don't. Back to that lazy thing. With all this energy, believe it or not, I'm still kind of lazy. So I don't, and it doesn't turn color, like it doesn't turn brown. It looks white. So yeah, I would say save yourself that extra step. All right. So
Hey,
now,
Michelle, I have a couple more.
oh, yeah.
So Diane's concerned about the amount of saturated fat in the coconut milk. Is there anything you could sub for the coconut milk?
Hmm, let me read the label. So 11 grams of saturated fat. Um, Again, I think this might be a discussion for either a dietitian or your personal um, doctor, because in my studies, coconut milk, especially full fat, is what you absolutely want for your brain health. So obviously, like I started off our first converse at the top of the hour, I want you eating for your body type and what feels good in your body. I would say this is a good saturated fat for brain healing, brain health. If we're talking about substitutions, I would say we probably would just need to skip this recipe because as you can see, at least hopefully can see in the bottom, this curry sauce is just looking delicious. And so I don't know that I have a substitution for this one. But with that said, not all hope is lost. You can also Google, like maybe you could Google curry sauce. You could say maybe Google curry sauce, dairy free with no coconut milk. I don't know. I don't know.
Um, Also, Darlene would like to know how long the cauliflower can last in the freezer.
Yeah, so that one again, I probably wouldn't do longer than 3 months, but in my house, it typically lasts maybe a month because, like I said, I'm adding it into my smoothies and then sometimes I'm pulling it out to make my bowls. I'll make this as my base for a bowl, whether it's like taco meat. Sometimes I'll put taco meat on top of the cauli rice, or what are some other things I've done besides curry turkey? Um, Oh, actually, next month, I can tell you, February 1st, we'll be back. We'll be making a crispy, gluten-free orange chicken. It's the favorite dish in this household, and we'll be putting that over cauli rice as well. And so, anytime I can substitute out the traditional rice, I'm always going to lean on my cauli rice. So, speaking of
Perfect.
cauli rice, my skillet is hot, hot, hot. So let's go ahead and just start sauteing that a bit so we don't run out of time. And I promise I'll still remain for questions. Always happy to answer questions. I'm putting in about a tablespoon for this small little skillet of cauli rice. I'm going to be making mine in batches because, again, this is a pretty tiny skillet, but I have it on medium high heat. And as the coconut oil is melting, I will just tell you as far as consistency, if you want a super crunchy rice, then I would say just kind of saute maybe 2 to 3 minutes and it's still going to have that crunch. But if you want more of that traditional rice feel, mouth feel, as they say, then I would say 5 to 6 minutes you want it in the skillet. All right, so I put in maybe, looks like maybe about half a cup in my little baby skillet here with our omelet pan. And again, I'm just gonna make sure all the pieces and all the sides get that yummy, brain supportive coconut oil coating all sides of the pieces of rice, cauli rice. And I am gonna sprinkle mine with a little bit of salt. I just like that flavor, but of course you go at your taste. And then um, some cracked black pepper. And not for this dish, just because I like the sweetness so much, but if you're having more of a savory dish, then I think minced garlic is actually really good in the cauli rice as well. Still tastes like rice, it just makes a little bit more flavorful rice. All right, let's see. So a few people are saying they haven't seen the February 1st class yet, but I think we're probably still, are we still working on that one, Allison? Do you
Nope,
know?
I have it already. I'll put the link in the chat and then that will also be included in the coming email that will
Oh,
go out tonight. It will have the recipe. It will have the link to the recording so you can watch us over and over and over again. And it will have the link for registration for the next one.
you are on it. That is why you are our favorite program director. This is amazing. Love it. All right. So before I answer any more questions, when I promise you have my word, I will not leave without asking the questions or answering the questions. I'm actually going to pour my protein back in now. So as you can see, it's cooked down. You can kind of see the sides of the pan. That's about like an inch and a half down that is cooked down. So now we know it is going to be so good, so flavorful. So put your protein in. My vegetarian friends, or I shouldn't even, again, what am I doing with titles and naming people? If you just choose to use tofu, whether you're vegetarian or not, this would be a good time to put in the firm tofu if that is your choice. And also, we can put in our snap peas, whether you chopped them in half or left them whole like me. Ooh, and sometimes I add red bell pepper to this as well if you want a little more healthy sweets. I just find that the red peppers add just a nice crunch and a sweetness to this dish as well. So if you want to add that, go ahead and write that on your recipe. My friend who said she likes taking notes, that you might want to consider chopping up some red peppers to add. You would do that at this point as well. It also just makes it so pretty with the greens and the yellows. And let me just make sure I'm not forgetting any of the steps. The snap peas Oh, I almost forgot our herbs. So while this is cooking down, because we want this to cook down just maybe 3 to 5 minutes to kind of soften up the snap peas. Next, we can chop up the herbs. And here, this is more for decoration, but it does give a nominal amount of minerals. I love using any kind of herbs that you might have in your fridge. This happens to be cilantro, but for this dish, it could be parsley, basil might be delicious. And we're gonna chop it down to sprinkle. But what I love about any type of green herbs is that they are detoxifying. And so a lot of us, myself included, maybe ate a little bit more than we were hoping to eat over the holidays. And if that is you as well, I highly recommend just get as many herbs as you can and just to make your body cells happy again. So before I chop that, let's see what's happening in this chat box. Lisa's asking, is that a ceramic lined omelet pan? Maybe. Let's see if it says it on the bottom. It doesn't say. It says red copper. And I'm glad I lifted that because now it looks like my texture is just the texture I like. So this is going to taste like traditional rice. So I cooked it just the right timing there. Um, the recordings. It looks like Allison put the link in for next month's class. I hope you come join us. I would love to have you back. Kelly says, OMG, that looks so good. I hope so. Um, and then Lisa says, it looks like it's a non-stick, but I'm guessing you don't use those pans. Thank you, Lisa, for calling that out. Because as you saw, I claimed this wok that I love and I cook everything in. My hubby uses this non-stick pan. And the only reason I've kept it in the kitchen is because of the copper. There's no point at which somebody could scratch it and have that metal come into our food. But yes, as a general rule, I do not like to use nonstick pans because of the toxins that can often get in our foods. I absolutely will, it'll be the hill that I die on, but I absolutely like to talk about cooking out of steel pots and surfaces that cannot scratch and get metal into our bodies. So thanks for calling that out. Nice catch. Okay, let's chop up some herbs. And I think I said basically any herbs you have in your kitchen, any leftover herbs, this is a great time to use them to chop them up. Dry herbs work well. Of course, the live herbs are going to have more of the live minerals. So our bodies do prefer the live herbs, but I would say the dry herbs are definitely going to be better than no herbs at all. Let's see. And somebody asked, are the snow peas cooking in with the cauliflower? So I actually added the snow peas in here with the turkey and the curry. But you could add them to the cauliflower and just kind of have like a veggie melange. It always just tickles me when chefs get very fancy with their wording. Um, so we'll pretend like we're famous chefs as well, right? The veggie melange with the cauliflower and the snap peas. You're welcome to try it that way. I love it. Oh, good. So Jessica's is already done and is sampling it right now. You'll have to let me know what you think, Jessica. And then also asking if rosemary, yay or nay. I would say rosemary might be overpowering for this dish, but if you are a rosemary fanatic, then go for it. I typically say the rosemary for chicken and dishes that I'm cooking down and sauteing for a lot longer. But if you love it, I would say try it and then let me know what it tastes like. Um, so we are in the mountain time zone. So that would be 2 hours behind you, Natalie, from the East Coast. And Kelly's asking, concerned about the sugar snap peas getting soggy in the freezer as far as leftovers. Should we leave them out in the original recipe and just add them fresh when we take out the leftover curry turkey? Believe it or not, they keep their crispness in this recipe. I don't know if it's the curry, if it protects them or what, but I've never had the issue of soggy snap peas. So I say go for it. I say make the whole dish up front so you don't have to worry about it when it's time to make the leftovers. And speaking of it all, it is done and ready for me to sample as well. So let me load it up and I will taste it. And then, like I said, I am happy to stay to answer if there are more questions. I am here for you. I love this community. So I'm putting my rice in as the base in my cute little bowl. And then I'm scooping up with as much, you know what? I want a real spoon so that I can get all the sauces in there. I'm a saucy girl. For my friends who are still with me and in the chat, when it comes to sauce, whether it's a bowl like this or whether it's a pizza, like on my pizzas, I'm like, give me extra sauce. I'm saucy. Tell me, are you a saucy person or are you more a little bit dry? My husband always is like moving this turkey to the side because he does not like the sauce. I'm like, what do you mean? The sauce is the best part. So he is not saucy. I love the sauce. Let's see. Christopher Saucy. Okay, Christopher, my kind of friend. And now I am just sprinkling my chopped cilantro on top. And look at that. Doesn't that just look like a bowl full of health? Now let's taste it to make sure it's a bowl full of yumminess. And let's see how we are on time. Oh, yay. We just made it right on time. 7:30. Look at us. Look at actually, look at this apron. A friend sent this to me for Christmas. No, it was for my birthday gift around Thanksgiving. And it's a fox. Isn't that so beautiful? It just caught the corner of my eye, so I thought I would share. She's an amazing artist, and so I promised her I would share that as well. So let's taste this. Curry turkey. Mmm. Mm-hmm. We did it again. It's so delicious. And this actually would be a great time to maneuver the salt and or pepper. If you want a little bit more salt, a little more pepper, go for it. But there you have it. We have our curry turkey over cauli rice. I hope you love yours as much as I'm about to love mine. And let's see if there's any other questions. Mm, so there's a conversation going on about snow peas versus snap peas. I would say either one is great. I think the snow peas are a little rounder, but they both have a delicious crunch. And so I'd still do the same timing there. Um, ooh, and Francis is giving us tons of options for different kinds of peas. Beautiful. Thank you. That's beautiful. Um, oh, and Sharnice is saying that string beans would work. Yes, that would be amazing. Oh, look at you guys. Oh, you are welcome. You are
Yeah,
absolutely
there's
welcome.
lots of questions about something other than snap peas to go in there, different vegetables. So I would imagine any vegetable. Is there any, it'd probably be easier to say, is there any vegetable that would not work?
Right, I agree. I'm like, if it's green, you are going to get two thumbs up from your culinary nutritionist. So, yes, I am loving this creative thinking. And yes, absolutely experiment and or just go with the veggies that you already know that you love. Including like spinach would be really delicious in this as well. And I'd probably wait till the end to put the spinach in because that cooks down really fast. But
Yeah,
yes, if it's green, you're gonna get my absolutely validating two thumbs up to put it in the dish.
perfect. And then before we go, I want to make sure that Sarah Howe mentioned a while ago that there is a low-fat coconut milk in cans that comes in cans in the Asian section of the grocery. So might want to try it.
There you go. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Beautiful. Let's see. Brooke, you are welcome. Sarah, you are welcome. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, Jacqueline's asking if kale would be good. So kale would be absolutely great. I would probably chop it into bite-sized pieces first, and I'd probably cook it down in the sauce before I even added the protein, because kale does take a bit more time to cook. But yeah, that would be wonderful to have in this meal. Let's see. Aw, thank you. You guys are amazing. Thank you. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I will just say thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for having fun. Thanks for putting up with my silly humor. And I would love, love, love to have you back February 1st, same time, same place, 6:30 p.m. Mountain. And then that will be for the crispy orange sesame chicken. And I'll show you how to make it gluten-free. And then on March 7th, we'll be back, same time, same place, to make our plentiful spaghetti. So we're going to have some fun this year, and I would love to have that fun with you. So come back and have a beautiful evening.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you next month. And if you didn't catch the link in the chat, don't worry, I'm sending it. So we will see you all. Thanks very much. Have a great evening. Bye bye.